Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I'm delighted to have the beautiful Jacqui Bushell with us. She's the founder of the School of Wild Presence, Magdalene Oils, and of Anointing. So, Jacqui Bushell has been dancing with the mythic imagination for most of her life through her love of the archetypal wisdom held in fairy tales and her work as a spiritual herbalist, listening for the voices and stories in plants, rocks, and landscape. She is passionate about encouraging others to explore their own mythology at the borderlands of psyche, body, culture, and land. She weaves together plant spirit alchemy, vibrational remedies, somatic practices, storytelling, journey work, and earth connection to inspire transformational shifts in the way people see themselves and how they see their world. So, a big warm welcome to Jacqui. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Catherine, and lovely to connect with all of your listeners. Thank you.
I'm sure they're going to be buckling up for a wild ride. So if anyone has heard of Jackie's, if anyone has heard of
Is it
Jackie,
seatbelts on or seatbelts off?
yeah,
I'm not sure.
it's up to them. We can put their hands up on the roller coaster and just go. So if anyone's heard of Jacqui, she is the magical plant. I want to say the plant keeper almost, because the amazing connection she has with plants and bringing them into an aspect of healing across all elements is just purely magical. So for those who don't know you, Jacqui, do you want to share a little bit about what you do as much as you can?
Oh, it's a funny word, isn't it? What do I do? It's when something kind of is part of your whole life or your way of being, and I like to think of what it is I offer in the world is an invitation into engagement and bigger, wider, glorious conversations in languages other than English, of languages that are via the body, via the senses, through the heart, through stories, through senses we don't even know that we actually have. So for me, I guess one of my key, things that I aspire to, that I would like to learn more and more. And so we often teach what it is that we really want to learn. What I want to learn is how to listen as deeply as possible with the immense life force that there is around us. I want to be able to listen into the conversations, the counsel of trees, the whispers of birds and trees. I want to be able to share that passion with others, because one of the things that I really feel from my perspective that is essential for dreaming into the biggest possible vision we can have for the potential of what we're living into in these times of change is how to open our perception, how to listen widely, abundantly, gloriously, lovingly, with everything that there is within us and around us. Because I feel that we absolutely need to reestablish our experience of embeddedness. I mean, in all truth, there's no taking us out of the matrix. There's no taking us out of that belonging. We can never be outside of the earth and the web, the worldwide web of all life. But we experience that as a disconnection, as a separation. And so much of our teaching, so much of how we come into the world and are taught in the West to be in the world is through a process of polarity, through a process of disunion. So I feel that the greatest thing we can do is to allow as much importance on loving presence, on imagination, on hearing the voices, listening and responding to the voices of that which is all around us, rather than a sole reliance on logic. Yeah. So what I do is, for me, plants have always been an immense passion. And I guess also because growing up as a kiddie and the way my body works and everything else is that I was always a chronic dissociator. So for me, the biggest teachings have been how to be present in my body, how to come and be at home here in this skin, in these rivers of bones and blood and everything. So what I realized was when I started coming in more was that I was able to start, I'll use the word hearing, but hearing with my body even more, and I was astounded at what became possible. So I guess what I do is create areas or aspects of experimentation and curiosity for people to play with what it is that they are, shift outside of the limitations of what it is they think they are, and to start pushing the edges and to play with those edges in all sorts of wild, curious, strange ways, and to feel what happens when we allow nature to engage with us, so that there's always a dance of reciprocity. So I invite people into plant spirit engagement, to work with essences, which are flowers or sticks or stones or anything in a bowl of water, where water amplifies the pattern of something. It's just a way of making something a bit louder and a bit bigger. So I teach people about essences. And there's whole other stories in that. Each one of these things is a zip file of gorgeousness. So, and I also engage a lot with story, because what I love about old stories and about myths is that they really offer a framework to take us in somewhere really, really, really deep through their narrative, and then out the other side. And because they're so old, they've been spoken so many times, they're polished as smooth as river pebbles. So there's this something that has been spoken, that has been received. So there's a body of rich energetic lore that LORE, that comes with the stories that we can ride on, so we can trust where they take us. So they give us a framework for experiencing, I guess, what it is within us and around us, experiencing big stuff, challenging stuff, loving, huge, joyous stuff, to go in and to go out. They also offer us an avenue straight into the other world. So they're kind of like a zip file of information, of archetypal energies, mystery, and a port in the other spirit to engage with earth, the above world, the underworld. So I kind of think of them as a doorway into shamanic consciousness. So that's why I engage a lot with story in all my processes as well. That's kind of a bit of a long answer for an intro. That's sort of roughly what I weave together. How can we live as heaven and earth?
Yeah, and I feel with the stories, a lot of people don't realize how powerful the energy is, and how they get passed from tribe, like, well, not tribe, but generation to generation, and how for centuries, like, the magic of their memory, that they can remember these, very detailed spoken oral stories, and the lessons that they share, and the guidance that they give. First Nations people will have these stories that actually map out the whole geographical plane, which is amazing in itself. And to have that connection with nature and weave that story through. And I feel that that's what was coming through when you were speaking then, was, we have all these stories within us, but there's also these stories outside us that can help us grow and challenge and shape us.
Absolutely. And when we start listening for the stories in the landscape through that eco-mythic lens, we can start, I guess, re-experiencing how things weave together. So, for example, the story of lyrebird after the massive fires, when lyrebirds started coming back in, they would bring in the stories, they would bring in the sounds of who is in their environment. So by listening to the songs of lyrebirds, you can tell who's coming back, who's around. So initially their songs would be just lyrebird sound, or maybe the squeak of one other bird, and then gradually, as it diversified, you could tell who is living around you. So by listening listening in to the songs of lyrebird, and or listening into the stories of the trees, and they're what they share can be told on so many levels. So by listening with story and for story, it enables us to be present in a way that involves a witness consciousness, a mythic consciousness, and listening for patterns, listening for what's unfolding in the moment and over all time, over maybe the last 20, 30, 5,000 years, or the last 6 months, and into the future as well. So it kind of enables us to be able to pick up the threads of varying narratives, not just skim over things, which also I feel is a revolutionary way of teaching us to be more discerning of what it is that we're receiving through the media, what it is that we're receiving in the stories of our time, the stories of climate change, the stories about power, the stories about who's good and who's not, who's going to do what, the stories of fear, of scarcity. So it enables us to start listening for stories as stories, which means that we're not then going to get hooked in the same way. So it's a way of jumping onto the balcony, off the dance floor,
Yeah, and
if we start listening in that way.
yeah, and definitely using your discernment and learning, oh, that doesn't resonate with me. I'm not going to follow that. And to go back to nature and sit in nature to help you
Mhm.
reset and recalibrate. It's so powerful. I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful
Absolutely.
just sitting under a
Hmm.
beautiful tree and letting it
Yes.
work its magic.
Absolutely, and it's a recalibration for us, as well as being a gift to the tree of being seen and being acknowledged. So there's that being in presence with the tree that supports that whole, uh, a little bit of the vitality of the whole place, as well as the immense gift to us of something that is emotionally neutral.
Yeah.
It Plants don't live in that lower astral realm. They don't do judgment and criticism, and so there's a way that sitting with the tree, it diffuses and enables us to sit with a whole range of emotional responses and what might be going in us. So it's like uh,
It's a reflective
I just think of it kind of
portal.
like sitting next to a master teacher, really.
Yeah, I find when I tune in with trees, it's like a reflective portal, and it will often reflect back to you where you need to pay attention in your body. Like, and and when you were saying too, they have no judgment, but they have their personalities.
Absolutely, yeah. They definitely teach you, and some of those lessons aren't easy at all. But there there's a level of care and compassion, and you know that it's not a malicious intent. It's not a There's no sneaky motivations, that you are being seen truly. I mean, basically all nature does is operate within balance.
Yeah.
So if there's something that is that is being touched in us, it's being offered from a place of absolute balance,
Yeah.
and that's what's being invited into in for us. How do we re-establish balance within ourselves, which might mean letting go of some stories and beliefs,
Yeah.
recognizing something you don't want to recognize. Yeah. Some of those
Yeah.
insights are not easy
No, there's
when you're
a
sitting
there's a
with the
tree
plant.
that's outside our living room window, and his name is Burns. And when I first
Mhm.
started connecting with him, he was very angry and like very grumpy, like a grumpy old man. And he just and the reason he was grumpy was because no one had paid attention to him and no one had said hello. And after about I think 2 weeks of me saying good morning to him nearly every day, he's the face, because I often see faces in trees, it changed and it wasn't so angry and grumpy anymore. It was actually like, oh, okay, I'll open up to you now and you can come get some healing from me. and he let me sit at the roots and do some healing on my body, which was really beautiful. But it was just about paying attention to that magic, and even, like going to look
Yeah.
at the flowers and seeing the tiny bees. And that's something I really encourage
Yes.
with kids. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I remember once with a lemon tree at our house years ago, and it was never a healthy or a well lemon tree. It was always a bit spindly. There were stink beetles on it, and either Jane or myself would go out each day and check it all over. And the message that I received one day was, "You don't see me, you inspect me." And you don't see me, you inspect me. And it just brought me up. So what am I actually doing to this tree by not seeing it, in its wholeness, by not seeing it and holding that great potential of immense health, but always seeing the problem? And it made me realize, okay, in what other ways am I doing this, either with myself or with other people or other beings? Where am I not seeing wholeness? Where am I inspecting? Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Was it,
very good at reflecting back, aren't they?
oh yeah, that was a mud pie on face moment of, oops, okay, yes, you're absolutely right. I'm not seeing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the beauty of when you start to pay attention to nature, magic happens. It's the only way I can describe it. Pure
Yes.
magic.
Absolutely. There's always a response, isn't there? There's always, you cannot walk out anywhere, whether it's in the city or in the bush, without being received. And what we're holding around us, there's automatically a response. It's
Yeah.
just, oh,
Well, that's
yeah,
like I
blows me away.
I don't like killing insects. I'm always the person to try and shoo them out onto something and get them outside.
Mhm.
And often, I don't know why, my healing space is always spiders. Always, and many of them. But they will happily climb onto a thing without for me. And I just sit there and go, okay, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to wait. And then you can climb onto there and you can go outside. And people are in awe. And I'm like, you just have to hold space for them. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just being a spider, right? They're
Yes.
just being there. And I said, and I appreciate them being here because they're catching other bugs. But at the same time, I don't want them in this space at this very moment. So, they need to go outside.
Yes.
And it's like
Yeah.
magic. They're like, oh, they're not even coming near you. I'm like, no, they just know that I'm
Mhm.
taking them on a little carpet ride. Yeah.
This is what we've organised, and they're used to that. You the I guess you'd call it the hive mind, the spider mind there amongst them all. They
Yeah.
know
That's it. They
you're
just,
doing. Yeah.
yeah, they just
Yeah, I know
know.
people who have organised that with cockroaches in the house and things like that, where, okay, I'll care for this cockroach, but no one else in the house. I'll put food out, but not here. And their house has stayed clear of cockroaches while
Yeah.
that cockroach was the one they were feeding was alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had another friend do a similar thing with ants, and they put out
Mhm.
the the husband. He said to the ants, "I'm going to leave you the crusts of the honey toast that my daughter eats, and
Mhm.
when you finish, that's it. You guys leave." And so he'd give them
Mhm.
20 minutes to eat it, and then he comes back. He's like, "It's time
Yeah.
to go," and they'd all go outside and then come back the next day for 20 minutes and then leave again.
Oh, that's a marvelous story. Yes. Yeah, we're starting to enter into a, a conversation where we're listening for a response.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it's a co-creative space. Yeah.
and I feel too people it's like we've forgotten, just because of the matrix that we're in and everything like that, we've forgotten how amazing and healing and magical plants and insects and trees and nature can be in our lives. So, and I know that's something that's really beautiful that you weave in whenever anybody works with Jacqui. They'll leave knowing that they now have a plant ally, I feel.
Yes. Yeah. And there's for the last while, there's been such an emphasis on animal allies and our relationship and respect for animals, because they can communicate with us. It's obvious when they're in pain and their exuberant personality. But there hasn't been, until recently, there hasn't been that same awareness of the intelligence, life force, and consciousness of plants. And because they don't move around as much, they don't bark and jump. Some of them might, but they generally don't. But it's a way of listening in a different way and realizing that how they engage with us is just a little more subtle, but the life force, the intelligence, the engagement is no less. And we're at last starting to talk a whole lot more around the world around developing allies with plants and the potency of that and what you see happens. I mean, there's many of us who've been working with essences I've been working with essences about 30 years or more. And others like going back to Edward Bach and the Living Essence people or Ian White. It's been happening for a very long time, that engagement with plants. But it's just starting to, I think also with the rise of people experiencing the psychotropic plant medicines like ayahuasca or some of the cacti and whatnot, there's more of a worldwide awareness of how we can engage. Also with the way the veils between the worlds are thinning and our vibrational field is getting more sensitized, that we're able to glue into that, I guess I just call it the bandwidth, in a way that was more difficult in the past. So people are just tuning in, which is glorious to see, which also to my mind means that as we become more sensitive, we're able to need less herbs as medicine. We don't need to use as much, which for me is much more about sustainability and not overusing. I think one of the dangers of mass consumerism of herbs is how it's grown, the cost of it, and the damage that might cause. So it means that if we're able to hand out a vibrational remedy, or inviting the spirit of a plant for balance, for healing, for insight, then we're not needing to charge people a fortune or cause more environmental degradation. So there's something that's really exciting about this.
And then
it's possible.
Often the joy of when you grow your own herbs as well. And
Yes.
then you get to harvest it yourself. There's something even more magical, and it's almost more in tune with you because you've put your energy into that herb and cultivated it and nurtured it and watered it and fed it, you know, and let it grow, and then it's going to have a better synergy with your system because you've actually created it, or helped create it, I would say.
Yes. And then people can learn just a few really simple skills on how to engage in subtle ways with that plant, or to go on a plant diet with it, to really connect with it as an ally and to start discovering how they might actually engage together. Because it's not so much us asking for the medicine of the plant, but also what it is that we can offer to the plant at this time as well, that it might have particular requirements. So, for example, one of my key plant allies is mugwort. And for me to say, well, for mugwort to say yes to me as a student, I had to make a commitment of, okay, you know, what would you like? I just call her the old silver lady. Because underneath the leaves are kind of silvery and there's a real relationship between mugwort and the moon. One of the I guess the commitments that I've made is to teetwort wherever I go and to run mugwort circles to support people being, I guess I'd call it, initiated into the field of what mugwort teaches. So that's my commitment to her. There's a real sense from mugwort of, I can be of immense benefit at this time on the earth. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
I'm
participating in that.
Yeah, and having worked with you and Mugwort, oh, she brings the energy.
Whoa, mugwort.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She is one dynamic mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does have a bit of a temper if you try and tune her out.
Yeah, if you're choosing to engage with the plant, then you need to be accountable to that relationship. You can't just ghost them and leave them. There's okay, if I'm going to connect, if I'm going to listen with you or invite you in for a client or for myself, then yeah, that means that I am saying yes to what it is that you're bringing up in me, what it is you might like, and I have to listen whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it might well bring up things that for you to be aware of.
Exactly. And I think when people want to start on this journey on tuning into plants more, I would say just to pay attention in your own garden, because Mother Nature will get things randomly to grow in your own garden, and you think, I've never planted that, I've never seen that
Yes.
before. What is that? And it's often because you need it.
And it's popping up. Yes, yeah, that can absolutely happen. Something will suddenly appear in an area or in your space. Yeah, I often tell folks, what are you tripping over? What keeps catching your attention out of all the plants that there are in this stunning land? Who's catching your eye? Or who do you feel revolted by? Which is a strange thing to say, but sometimes there's I don't want to go near that plant, but I keep seeing it. So there could be something interesting as well in something that you don't feel drawn to at all, because it's not a neutral response. So yeah, I invite you to really sit with it. Just sit with it. Come into communion together. Come into shared breath together.
We shared this conversation about rose, because I was saying I never liked roses because I saw them as quite a commercial thing that have been, marketed for Valentine's Day and all these things. And I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with rose. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, no, they're really beautiful and they're so healing. And why have I been ignoring rose? And then it's like, oh my goodness, I've been shutting off that sensual part of myself.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And one of the things I really find when people have had an experience with a plant, like you're describing just then with rose or with mugwort, is that the plants will keep working with you. So, for example, I was talking to a workshop group just a couple of nights ago, and the women were saying, oh, I'm no longer doing this old thing, or I'm suddenly feeling this for the first time in my life, whatever it might particularly be, or this is an insight. So there's a way that the engagement with the plants, it doesn't necessarily go via the conscious mind, but it's like they start shifting our basement membrane so that it filters from the body on up and then into the conscious mind. Oh, I'm doing this now. Gosh, I never used to. Right, that must mean that I'm now in touch with whatever it might be, or I notice I'm feeling my emotions differently, or I'm expressing. One of the things with Rose that I often hear is, yes, there's that loving, deep, sensual drop in, but there's an immense level of strength and boundaries that can also come in as well. I'm speaking up more loudly for the first time. I'm not shaking when I stood up to my boss and said blah blah blah. For the first time in my life, I'd normally be silent. I'm saying this, or I recognized where that a boundary should be. So it kind of comes in via the back door, and we start expressing those changes, which is what I love. It's like it touches us on a level that we're not used to being touched with immediately. Like with psychotherapy, it'll be conscious, and we'll be exploring it via verbal processing, or maybe we might be doing it through dance therapy or art. But this is kind of from the inside out. And I love that level of subtlety and deep level of transformation that's possible beyond words. It's like there's a pattern of consciousness that comes in from the plant that then touches our pattern of consciousness, and it starts inviting what is dormant in us. It's like a catalyst. What is held down or dormant or kind of shut off that suddenly starts unfurling. That plant, it's like a bell ringing through our being, waking up parts of us.
Yeah, it's almost, for using plant analogies, it plants a seed and then it blooms and blooms and blooms and integrates through our system. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be a seed that you were born with. It doesn't give us anything that we're not, but it opens the doors to what's already in existence that we're often not consciously aware of, or might be suppressed or uh, hidden somewhere.
Yeah. And I just, nature's just magic. That's all I can say. It's just magic.
Yeah, there is so much that is possible for us to learn, and there's so much that I don't even know what's possible because I can't dream of it. I remember once, years and years and years ago, I'd run a workshop and I was blown away with where they went in that workshop and what was happening, and I came out beside myself with joy. The world is fine. Look what these gorgeous people are doing. Look what's possible. And it was, everything's going to be absolutely all right. Humans are extraordinary. And the message I got was, oh, just calm down, Jacqui. Hold on. You've got no idea what humans are capable of. I'm saying, yes, but this is, yes, this is huge. I got a glimpse of the potential. And they said, no, you didn't. You just saw what you know of as humanly possible. What if you don't think like a human? What if there's something else that is even vaster that you can't even imagine, because you're human and you can't imagine it, but we can, because we're not human. And I often rest in that idea of the vastness of that potential that I cannot imagine.
I, yeah, and when you start to tap into even your inner wisdom, you're like, oh, I had no idea I could do that, or I didn't know that that was
Yes.
possible, or someone just managed across the globe to create, like, do an energetic healing on me, and I'm not even in the same geolocation. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's
Oh,
just,
it's
yeah.
mhm, absolutely. May we continue to astound ourselves and to continue to not have any limits around what might be possible.
Exactly. Infinite beings.
Mm.
We are infinite beings.
We need to dream bigger than we can imagine, literally.
Exactly. So, Jacqui, I always ask, or most of the time I ask people that come on the show, my beautiful guests, if you could heal something in the world or shift something in the world, what would it be?
What would I shift? What I would shift is bringing in the ability to be constantly amazed and curious by what there is around us.
Yeah.
If we're curious, if we're filled with wonder, then we can easily be touched with love, with kindness and compassion and empathy, and we'll listen. And imagine if trees and rivers and mountains were invited into every governmental council meeting. Imagine if their voices were there to be heard as well and were actually listened to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that doesn't work for you. Okay, right. Imagine. So I think I would start with that drop: curiosity and open-hearted wonder.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it's just
Yeah.
so, it's so important to remain curious and open, and just observing the little bee on the flower, seeing that beautiful flower that's finally blooming and looking at the intricacies of it. Some flowers are so ornate, or even the ones that aren't ornate, why are they like that, and asking those questions and
Yes.
fueling that curiosity, and see what answers come back, because sometimes you just need to listen.
Absolutely. And listen with our body and our heart, and oh,
Yeah.
and be amazed.
Exactly. Well, it has been such a beautiful journey we've been on, Jacqui, weaving a new story for people to listen to.
Yes, yes, and listening for the stories that are always all around us, and how we're part of them.
Exactly. Well,
Thank you. Beautiful to talk with you today, Catherine, and blessings of all the wild green to you all listening.
thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.